Homeless man finds $10,000 and returns it unaware of what was coming his way. But before we start, please make sure to subscribe to m&rtv and hit the bell so you never miss any upload from us. Also, leave a like right now. Imagine a day waking up to a lottery ticket, and surprisingly you realize that the same lottery ticket eventually won. Happy? Rather over the moon? Of course, anyone would be. Being so lucky that you actually were able to achieve something that you never thought of will leave anyone amongst us surprised, yet happy. Not everyone is that lucky, and those who are surely have a great luck playing at their end. Something similar happened to this man when he found a $10,000 check in his hands, but what he did with it was something that no one would ever probably think of doing. Yet, that wasn't all. How a small piece of paper with just some numbers changed his life forever while leaving you wondering. Elmer Alvarez is one man who was wishing for things many of us take for granted. For a long time, he was living out on the streets with an impecunious pocket. He looked shabby in war-torn clothes. Undoubtedly, he had a tough life. He had to beg for a living. Nothing came easy to him. For every single penny, he had to fight his bad luck. Elmer was never sure whether he would be able to feed himself with a meal on any day of his life. His meals were unpredictable. Some days he got food for twice a day, and there were days when he had to sleep all hungry stomach. He was a victim to circumstances, and it was getting hard for him to survive. But as they say, God is there to shower his choicest blessings on you. And one morning something happened. As winter was approaching, Elmer was worried about whether he would be able to make it through the freezing cold weather or not. The snow-freezing winter was a hard challenge for him. Surprisingly, one morning when Elmer woke up, he saw a check amounting rupees $10,000 lying on the park bench where he was sleeping. What he does with it is something no one would have been in his shoes would have done. For Elmer, it was a usual day. He was just thinking about how will he arrange for his food today when he saw that check. For a second, Elmer did not pick it up, thinking that maybe any trespasser would have left it there and would just soon pick it up. He even had this thought that someone's eyes might catch him when he picks it up. But after a while, he picks it up and could not believe his eyes that he got such a lucky break. For any man who lived in such poor and harsh conditions, finding a check worth $10,000 must be a great deal. The money was enough to change his life forever. At least this sum of money could get him a warm place to sleep. Undoubtedly, he was happy to find such a beautiful surprise that morning. But something bothered him. Will he be able to take the money that really didn't belong to him? While the very first thought that would come up to any one of us would be that Elmer would keep the money. After all, he was in desperate need of one. The money could fetch him food, some warm clothes, and most importantly, a roof over his head. Surprisingly, Elmer decided to not keep this money. He did not take the check he found lying next to him. Why? What stopped him from taking such a huge amount? Not every poor is a thief. Not all the poor are beggars. Rather, they are the most generous ones, as they know what is it like to have nothing. Some similar values ran through Elmer's veins. For him, keeping the money which wasn't his own would have been a wrong thing to do. It was against his morals and human decency. In his eyes, it would have been stealing. Very few people are there like him who, despite being a victim to hard circumstances, stand high by their morals. Though it was not at all easy for Elmer to give up on such a huge amount of money. He knew that if he kept it, the money would give him a roof, a shelter. But despite that, it won't be able to give him a peaceful sleep. He would always stay under the guilt of stealing someone's hard-earned money. He thus decided to return it to its rightful owner. That's incredible. Little did he know that a huge surprise was coming his way. The challenge which came in Elmer Alvarez's way was how will he find the owner of this check. Luckily, since $10,000 were in check, and not in cash or bills, it was quite easy to know about the actual possessor of this money. The check contained the name and account number of the owner. Moreover, it even had the contact details of a company. Alvarez, without wasting a second, rushes to a cyber hub to know more about the person concerned. After searching Google, Elmer was able to find the answers to the questions he wanted. The check belonged to a woman named Robertas. She was a real estate agent and a media personality based in New Haven. Being a popular face, getting her whereabouts wasn't a tough task, and finding her to return her money was an even effortless task. However, Elmer never thought that the lady would respond to his act of kindness the way she did. Being a popular media figure and a well-known real estate agent living in Connecticut, it was quite obvious that she had a good fortune on her hand. She wasn't even aware that she had dropped a check amounting $10,000 over a street. Quite lucky she was, as the check was not locked and was with Elmer, a man with high moral standards. While a lot of people will be tempted at the sight of this much money, Elmer's decision to reach out to Roberta was surprising. Roberta did not even worry about the lost money, because she was completely oblivious about it. Rather, only when Elmer contacted her she realized that she had lost some $10,000 under her possession. She thought that she was too foolish to drop a huge amount of money, and that to being completely unnoticed. She was grateful to Elmer, and what happens next was the unexpected. After hearing about the lost money and Elmer's earnest desire to return it to her, Roberta decided to meet Elmer and have a word with him in person. She wanted to thank and show her heart-filled gratitude to the man who actually thought of presenting her the money she lost unknowingly. The duo decided to meet at a nearby street. What do you think would be Roberta's reaction on meeting Elmer? Finally, the day was there when Elmer and Roberta would meet up. Roberta was more excited to meet the man than getting her lost money back. She was so impressed by the man's intention that she was desperate to meet this good Samaritan. Roberta had certain perceptions about the man, but she made a startling discovery about the man on the meeting which changed his life in an instant. Hosky thought that the man returning her the money would have been any other man who wished to do some good deeds in life. Even in her wildest dream, she did not imagine that the man would be a homeless one. A man in desperate need of food and shelter. Did something like this came as a shock to her. Hosky knew that the impact which this much of money would have had on Elmer's life would have been massive, and despite that he decides to return it was astonishing. He could have made himself some food, shelter, and clothing with this money, but his ethics didn't let him do so. As they say, good deeds never go unrewarded. Hosky decided to do something for him. Of course, Elmer did not ask anything in return for his act. He knew that good deeds are done for intention and not attention, but so did Hosky knew that such an act of kindness must be rewarded. She could not leave a man in such a state empty-handed. She knew that Elmer won't accept any money if she gifted him some. Then what could she do for him? Roberta had a tough time thinking in which manner can she present her gratitude towards Elmer. For a man who had absolutely nothing, what could be of utmost need, and what could be the most beneficiary for him? As she was a real estate agent and Elmer a homeless fellow, she knew that a place to call home and keep him warm was something he needed badly. Thus, she decides to arrange an accommodation for him. But that wasn't all. The best thing one can give anyone is a chance, and Roberta gives Elmer a chance to appear at an interview. She knew that only an accommodation would not help him, and he needs some income to pay the bills. In addition to getting him a roof, she schedules an interview with one of her business partners. Though she wasn't sure if he would secure a job, but giving him a chance was the least she could do. The very obvious question which came in way of Roberta was, is the man even educated enough to make it through an interview? And the obvious reason being no. He has spent his life living on streets, and getting an access to education was far from imagination. What next Roberta did surely demand a heart of gold for anyone to do. Probably, Roberta was equally generous as Elmer himself. While Elmer merely returned her the money, Roberta was giving shivers to the man every now and then as she was unfolding her line of gifts for him. She enrolled Elmer in her real estate school for free of charge. She promised to bear all of his educational expenses. Schooling would not only enhance his personality and educational level, but would also make him stand at his own feet, and would make him capable of doing something good for himself in his life. He could learn some competent skills as a real estate agent, and could get a chance at improving his English language skills. But everyone wanted to know, why was Roberta doing this much for the man? The reason why Roberts was this kind and generous towards Elmer Alvarez was that she herself has been on streets and knew what it was like to be living there and facing life. While she was some 8 years old, her parents divorced and left her and her 3 siblings with her mother. She had faced the life of a financial crunch being. When she was 17 years old, she got pregnant and had to drop out of school. As a teenager, her education was left incomplete and she had to live on a monthly welfare. At this age, where she would have been completing her schooling, she was instead busy worrying about her unborn child and his future. While things seemed to be quite difficult for her, they changed for a better. Fortunately, Roberta went into business management and began her internship with the Yale University when she was 20 years. The experience she gained from the internship helped her in evolving as a part of a first-time buyers program, and soon she reached in a position where she could feed her son. Yet, there was more in store for her. She was a dedicated and hard-working single mother. She never let her high spirits die. In the years that followed, she grew herself more into the business world. She established herself as an experienced real estate agent. Moreover, today the office she works in is directly opposite the house she very first bought as a real estate dealer. Her life has been completely different since then. These all factors somewhere made Roberta a kind lady today. Hosky herself owes her success to the benevolence of a stranger who gave her a chance at life while others would not give her any. Therefore, she knew what all impact her generosity could have on Elmer's life. She could shape the future of this guy and gift her an all-new life. But to get one, Elmer would have to abide by one condition of hers. Roberta Hosky was ready to give Elmer Alvarez a home and a training session at her real estate school only on one condition. She mentions that she would give Elmer everything if he promises to showcase the same kindness and generosity to any other person he comes across who is struggling with life on streets. He needs to present any other man in need a helping hand. Kindness is no less than spreading sunshine into the lives of others irrespective of the weather. Hosky had this desire to create a never-ending cycle of spreading kindness. She wished that everyone who is not that blessed gets a chance in life to make a better future for himself. Knowing how selflessly Elmer returned her the money, Roberta was sure that the man would lend a helping hand to someone in future. After a few days, everything that Hosky planned for Elmer was arranged. Roberta broke the good news to Elmer and handed over him the house keys and enrollment form. She was extremely happy to see how much did it mean to him. For anyone in Elmer's position, it all was really a big deal, and he accepted it with the assurance that he would further shower some kindness on anyone in need. For some obvious reasons, Elmer got emotional hearing what all Roberta was doing for him in reciprocation of him just returning her cheque. Considering the fact that he had spent half of his life on streets, searching for food, getting a shelter and an opportunity to work was a big deal. He could not hold back his tears, realizing that how his life changed in an instant. Though every act of Roberta brought tears to Elmer's eyes, there was one particular thing Elmer could not thank Roberta enough for. Every winter Elmer was terrified with approaching winter. It would be freezing cold in Connecticut as temperatures dropped to 16 degrees Fahrenheit there. Finally, this winter Elmer had a home which would keep him warm and help him survive the harsh climate. Someone has rightly said, the secret to happiness is having no expectations. While Elmer decided to return the money to its rightful owner, he did not carry any expectations along with him. He did not even think that anyone would do anything for him in return of this favor. Rather, he did it all because of his kindness and his ethics, which did not let him steal the money which doesn't belong to him. Elmer was not the first person to receive help from Roberta. Rather, she has dedicated a part of her successful life in helping the people in need. By every means, she is a true philanthropist. Living herself over the streets and struggling for every penny, she knew how tough life was. Now that she was successful enough, she believes in the power of charity. Undoubtedly, Hosky's help and kindliness marked a significant impact on Elmer's life. He no longer had to worry about the challenges to survive in life. Rather, he made the best of the advantage possible of the opportunity he was gifted. He continued educating himself further in hopes of building himself a steady future. No doubts that he was flourishing in his new life. Elmer was now on a new mission in life. In an interview, he tells media that now his life's focus was to help people, and he was trying every bit possible to help them. He knows how much poverty strikes on the people living out on streets and begging for meals. Just like Roberta transformed his life, he wanted to make a change in someone else's life. To achieve his final goal in life, whenever Elmer got free from school, he reached out to the people living on streets. He went to them and have a word with them. He would tell them how his life changed right from the day he was one amongst them. He knew that sharing someone's pain decreased it, and he was doing his bit towards it. Elmer was doing great at the real estate school. He was blooming with ideas and shared it all with her life savior, his guardian angel. He had ideas about real estate, property matters, and even about how can Roberta further help and reach out to the poor and needy. Roberta, on the other hand, was proud to see how well Elmer was doing in school. Hosky was extremely happy to see that she was able to make a positive change in Elmer's life. Since he was doing great at school, she did not want him to go back to the streets and drop his education to pay for his rents. On seeing his progress, Roberta decided to pay the rent for the first 6 months of the house she gifted to Elmer. Elmer tells everyone that, "Do a good thing and good will come to you." Elmer, however, promises to return back the money that Roberta has invested in his education and his home. While he once begins to work, he would present his gratitude to the woman who changed his life in ways unimaginable. Surely, Elmer Alvarez would be grateful to Roberta Hosky for all his life.